Thank you all for coming. Topic for today is grey, grey expectations. Grey is one of those colours that people sort of hate or love, and I'm going to start off with a really, really morbid quote, just to sort of strike the mood. The colour grey is an unemotional colour, neutral, on the fence, it's not here nor there. It's why our hair turns grey as we age, because we are between life and death. So man, I mean, it's got to get better from there on. I'm going to introduce you to our three illustrious panelists. Kay Collar. Kay arguably inherited her creative abilities from her parents, and from her father in particular, who was always making things, from costumes to watercolors to garden gates. And as a child, she remembers using a large doll's house he made for her as a design lab. Directly after Kay trained as an architect and graduated from Cooper Hewitt, she worked for James Polchek's firm. And while she was there, she was drawn to the interior design department, a fact that would presage her opening of her own interiors business in Manhattan. She currently divides her time between Los Angeles and a second home in Marfa, Texas. The residences Kay designs are often guided and inspired by the past. In her restoration work, her philosophy is to feel the original intention of what was there, but never to be a slave to it. Each of her projects is as unique as each of her clients. And when she designs, she aims to transcend style and instead cultivate an authentic visual language where she uses color, materials, and furniture to build a personal portrait of her clients. Color plays a very strong role in her work, but it's never gratuitous or trivial or purely decorative. It's used structurally to establish scale or to link an interior to an exterior. In the middle, Sean Matovich. Kleenex boxes and classic Hollywood movies helped shape Sean's thoughts about interior design. At the age of 5, he took an empty Kleenex box and cut off its side and drew a section of a 2-story house, complete with a woman standing in her bedroom. And the movies he watched as a child transported him and placed him inside glamorous homes in exotic places around the world. Another influence on his current aesthetic was the first family room he remembers as a child, which was grey. After attending Parsons in New York, Sean subsequently worked for two of this country's most accomplished designers, Stephen Sills and Daniel Romualdez, before he joined forces with David Kleinberg, where in 2003 and last year he was made an equity partner. Sean is a connoisseur and a lover of all things classic. His influences are Velázquez and Bolthouse and 16th century buildings in Sweden and Spain. But simultaneous to that, he has a firm belief that true style is inherent and completely unrelated to wealth. It comes directly from the gut. And Annette English, to my left here, counts Vogue magazine as one of her earliest influences. She started reading her mother's subscription at the age of 7. After Annette left her hometown of Perth, Australia, at the age of 19, she explored several countries before she landed in San Francisco. Now, 20 years later, her residential and commercial portfolio contains projects from across the globe, from Shanghai, Paris, Australia, London, and New York. And her design skills have broadened into the worlds of lighting, furniture design, and landscaping. A natural adventurer and spontaneous traveler, Annette is keen to go anywhere at any minute, and her trips abroad often inform and influence the interiors she designs. So each of the panelists is going to show some slides, and then we'll have a general discussion about the color. Kay, do you want to start off?
Color is always a central component of my work, and the way it's used, what I call my color intention. This is a house in Truesdale Estates designed in the mid-60s by Rex Lotery. And we're seeing a living room that is essentially a neutral shell. Color is carried through the furniture to really populate the room. And the drapery, which echoes the color of the redwood, both dramatizes the scale of the room and humanizes it. We tried different examples of color, and really the stronger that the color became through with the furniture really served to warm the room just by the establishment of scale. And this is the entry of the same project, and color is really carried through the boldness of the rug color, and it's an attempt to establish a sense of place and balance the natural materials that were used. The next project is a house in Beverly Hills that was designed in 1947 by Harwell Hamilton Harris and later purchased by my clients, who had a really extensive art collection. The challenge of what the palette was going to be for this house really had to do with the large-scale pieces of really bold, expressive art. The walls really needed to be saturated to ground the art so that you felt like you were living in a warm environment for a family. Another way that the color was used prominently here was it echoed the architectural detailing, that the color in itself became a kind of system that really organized the details, the window trim, the baseboard, the skylights, the valances, all of them were part of a color language. Mm-hmm. Okay, and this is the same house. It really shows the colors were derived from the surrounding landscape and view. All of the rooms in the house had really kind of spectacular views that were unique to each room. And I really think of this house as a series of California colors that really are part of the landscape.
I think, Sean, are you up next, Sean?
I think I am. Okay, so good morning, everybody, by the way. Thank you for coming out. This is the family room of a loft that we did in downtown Manhattan for a young couple. They were of Indian descent, so they were very attracted to kind of strong, dark colors. And, you know, in Manhattan, space and light is such a luxury. They had a duplex, and this opened onto a very large terrace that had a very good view of downtown. We really wanted to keep the space light, and so this was one of the areas in the apartment where we actually kept very neutral. It's not quite gray, it's kind of a grayish color. Everything that you see is virtually the same tone, but we worked with a lot of different textures and qualities of material to kind of keep it interesting. This is the living room of the same apartment. This is on the lower floor. We really wanted to make a bold statement with the fireplace. Again, keeping all the textures kind of neutral. The fireplace was based on a Dupré Lafont fireplace, and we used a lot of chocolate in this room. But I think as you look at the space in general, it doesn't feel like a dark, closed room. And as Kay said, so frequently people think that when you use dark colors in a space that you're going to close the room up, you're going to make it feel confined. And I think people are seeing that that's really just not true. It's how you use it. So that's it.
Thank you. Now we'll see what Annette has to offer.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for turning out. So I'm going to start with a project that we did in Pacific Palisades. And these particular clients have a phenomenal art collection, and they requested that we focus on a monochromatic palette and backdrop. In this particular living room, it's pretty much white on white on white. It's not really gray, but it speaks into the muted monochromatic palette. And I think it's actually more challenging to create a beautiful monochromatic interior that doesn't have color or a lot of pattern, because you have to work with tones of the same shade and texture and pattern to create something that's really sort of sophisticated and subtle and interesting. This is the master bedroom for the same client. As you can see, there is an insertion of gray in here. This particular client wanted to use color, but very sparingly. They felt more comfortable having a monochromatic background where they could spend the money switching out accent pillows, accessories down the road. Many of our clients also with art collections like to rotate their artwork to keep it fresh. And so with that, we found that if we're playing with a lot of color on walls or paint or whatnot, there may not be as much flexibility to move art around if it's rotating. This is the master bathroom for the same client, where we used a bit of gray in the mosaic rug on the floor from Anne Sachs. But everything is just sort of serene and tranquil, which I tend to like. Especially in bedrooms, I find, or master suites, they're looking for a sanctuary where they can go put their feet up at the end of the day and just have something really calm. So I don't think that the lack of use of color in an interior is a cop-out at all. I think it's a commitment, and I think it takes a lot of thought and effort and care to create.
Do colors date?
I think so. I think that neutrals have a more timeless, and can be sophisticated. I think there are some colors, I hope no one's used a lot of chartreuse, for example, or a Pepto-Bismol pink, I don't think is necessarily timeless.
The home that you saw that has the chartreuse in it as hits, we did 15 years ago almost. And I'm currently redoing the daughter's bedroom. She is now 16. She no longer wants a little pink bedroom. And when David and I walked into the apartment, it looked exactly the same. Now, part of that is the fact that she has a fabulous housekeeper. However, it's a timeless interior. You walk in and it's just as pretty now as it was almost 15 years ago when we did it. So I agree that neutrals, I think, are what keep things looking fresh on a constant basis.
Do we feel that people are more comfortable with grey these days? Do we feel that grey is just a perennial, it's just a classic?
I was just at my house in Marfa, Texas, and it is true that every surface of the house is painted in a particular shade of gray, and I experimented for years to try to find this particular shade, and it's an amazing color that throughout the day in all the different spaces it changes, and it allows the light of the landscape to really be a factor. And it's one of the incredible things about some of these colors that they're so animated by light that it's just a show that's going on at all times. And in this case, it's gray and it's beautiful.
It seems like a good place to end to. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you to our panelists.